The sun rose gently over the small, picturesque town nestled near the majestic ruins of Great Zimbabwe. Life here moved slowly, serenely, until Tawanda, a young man known for his discipline and hard work, began to hunger for more. He wanted success, riches, and status, the kind that turned heads and silenced tongues. He had grown tired of the modest farming life. Every day he saw tourists flooding into the region, marveling at its beauty, leaving behind wealth. Why not him? Why couldn't he be the one to build the largest guest house in the area? Why couldn't he be the one the town revered? One evening, as the sun dipped behind the acacia trees, Tawanda made a secret journey to the mountains, where a feared spiritualist lived. The spiritualist's name was whispered with caution. His powers were real, but so was his darkness. "You want true riches?" the spiritualist rasped, his eyes pale like ash. "You must bury the palm of blood beneath your foundation, your mother's palm." Tawanda froze. The spiritualist leaned closer. "Do this, and no one will question her death. Visit her. Bring a coffin. Let fate do the rest. But before she is buried, take the hand." The words haunted Tawanda for days, but greed whispered louder than guilt. He visited his aging mother in the village. That night, around midnight, a sharp, unnatural sound startled him awake. Rushing to her room, he found her lifeless. Tears fell, but his heart had already turned. He returned to his car, fetched the coffin he'd brought, and carried out the dark instruction. Before dawn, the villagers gathered, whispering among themselves. The sudden death seemed unnatural, but no one dared question Tawanda. It was as if an invisible force held their tongues. He buried his mother beside his father and returned to town a changed man. The spiritualist had been right. Opportunities came rushing in like a river after the rains. He built a grand guest house near the ruins. Money flowed. Respect followed. But from that day, something in Tawanda began to hollow. His sister, who arrived late at the graveyard, never forgave him. And though he became wealthy, he never extended a hand to family. It was as though he feared looking too long into their eyes. He married a woman named Tadisa. Their first child, a boy, was born with a disfigured hand. His right palm never fully formed. Tawanda refused to acknowledge the omen. They tried again. Their second child, a girl, died mysteriously at age 3. The third followed the same pattern. Each time, there was no sickness, just sudden death in the night. By the 5th child, Tadisa could no longer bear it. "Let me send this one to my parents," she begged. "The first boy survived because he was raised there. Maybe it's this house, this land." Tawanda refused. He remembered the spiritualist's warning. If the child goes, they will uncover everything. Your empire will fall. But Tadisa, heartbroken and desperate, pretended to understand. Truth started unraveling. He had just turned off the lights and was crawling into bed when he heard a knock. He paused, puzzled. No one visited this late. Before he could reach the door, it opened by itself. Standing there was a boy. He looked no older than 11, his eyes dull like fog, one hand dripping blood, fresh and red. In the other, he held a severed human palm. Before Chikindi could scream, the boy spoke. "Have you seen my grandmother?" he asked softly. "This is her hand." And just like that, he vanished. Chikindi packed the next morning and left without asking for his rent back. The story spread like wildfire among the few remaining tenants. Many fled in the days that followed. Among those who stayed was a woman named Zvama. Strong-willed and gifted, her family believed she was born with the ability to see and speak with spirits. When she heard of the ghost boy, she didn't run, she prepared. One night, she lit a candle in her room and waited. Just before midnight, a soft breeze entered the room, though all windows were shut. Then he appeared, the boy with the bloody palm and the shortened hand. Zvama stood firm. "What do you want, child?" The boy looked at her with hollow sadness. "I want rest. Me and my grandmother. He's still using us." "Who?" "My father," Zvama gasped. That night, she summoned the other tenants and held a prayer meeting. They lit candles, fasted, and invited a local prophet. The spirit boy appeared again, this time not to haunt, but to plead. "He buried me on top of her," the boy whispered, pointing toward the center of the building. "I want to go home." The next day, every tenant moved out. Word spread beyond. When Tadisa returned and heard of the hauntings, she cried uncontrollably. She had never stopped searching for her lost son. Tawanda had promised to help her find him, pretending to care. Now she knew the truth. With her father and church members, she entered the cursed building. They found the sealed chamber beneath the foundation, just as the boy had described. There, they unearthed a tiny skeleton, wrapped in a child's torn shirt. Next to it lay an old, shriveled human palm. They wept and sang hymns. A proper tomb was built in the room. Prayers of cleansing were made. A plaque with the boy's name was placed on the wall. Tawanda, unaware of the tenants' exodus, returned days later. He dismissed their fears as foolish superstition. But that night, around 3 a.m., he heard it. A soft sobbing, growing louder. When he opened his eyes, his heart stopped. There she was, his mother, standing at the edge of his bed, weeping quietly. Beside her, the boy, his face pale and sad. They didn't scream or chase him. They simply asked, "Why?" Tawanda stumbled back from his bed, his heart pounding in his chest like a war drum. "No, no," he whispered. But the ghosts didn't move. They just stood there, his mother and his son, eyes filled with pain and betrayal. He ran out of the room, barefoot and trembling, the night swallowing his screams. The spirits didn't chase. They didn't have to. They had already entered his soul. With dawn breaking, Tawanda drove like a madman back to the mountains where the spiritualist once lived. But instead of the familiar dark hut, he found a modest chapel with a white cross. There, a tall man stood sweeping the yard. "I'm looking for the spiritualist," Tawanda stammered. The man looked up. "He's gone. I'm his son." "You don't understand. I need his help. The spirits, my mother, my son, they came to me." The man's face hardened. "My father died last year. I am now a reverend. I'm here to cleanse what he left behind. Every evil pact made with him must be undone. If you took something, if you made a deal, return it, or be consumed by it." Tawanda's mouth went dry. "Return it? Yes, and repent, or you will never know peace." He turned and walked away, leaving Tawanda paralyzed in the dust. He drove back slowly, dazed and haunted. On the way, he saw them again, standing in the middle of the road, his mother and his son. This time, their faces twisted in anguish. They rushed toward him. Tawanda screamed, swerving off the road. But to the people nearby, he looked alone, shouting and clawing at invisible attackers. His eyes were wild, his shirt torn. He rolled on the dirt, wailing, "She's beating me! My mother is beating me!" And then, he was gone. Some say he ran into the forest and was never seen again. Others believe he was taken by the same dark spirits he had once welcomed. Some nights, travelers reported seeing a middle-aged woman in a white dress walking aimlessly. But one thing was certain, the haunting never stopped.